I raised my sister's abandoned son as my own for 25 years, now her daughter thinks I owe her a car, and destroyed my sons when I refused. I'm 43 now, and to say my family situation is complicated would be putting it mildly. The issues go way back. My sister, she's 47 now, had a baby when she was 22. I was just 18. His name is Luke. Right from the start, it was clear my sister and her boyfriend at the time, now her husband, wanted nothing to do with that baby. And I mean nothing. They treated Luke like he didn't even exist. They'd go out partying all night, drop him off with anyone who'd take him, and not even bother checking in. I remember coming home from school more than once and finding Luke crying in a diaper that hadn't been changed in hours. He'd be red and raw, completely ignored. After a few weeks of that, I hit a breaking point. I was terrified. I was still a kid myself, but I couldn't just sit back and watch. So I stepped up. No one else would. Pretty quickly, I found myself taking care of Luke most of the time. Thankfully, my grandmother, God rest her soul, helped out. She'd watch him during the day while I finished high school. In exchange, I'd clean her house and cook for her on the weekends. It wasn't perfect, but somehow we made it work. My parents weren't much help either. They'd toss me about $100 a month for Luke's expenses. If you've ever had to buy formula and diapers, you know that doesn't even scratch the surface. That money disappeared in days. It was me and my grandma against the world, doing everything we could to make sure Luke had what he needed. There were sacrifices. I skipped my senior prom because I couldn't afford both a dress and formula in the same month. I don't regret it, but that should give you an idea of what things were like. Things got even worse about a year after I graduated. One day I came home and found all my stuff stuffed in trash bags and dumped by the door. My parents decided they'd had enough of having me and Luke in the house. My sister literally looked at me and said she wished she'd never had him. Who says that about their own child? I still remember Luke looking up at me with those big, confused eyes, not understanding why we were suddenly being thrown out. That image is burned into my memory. So my grandmother and I did the only thing we could. We contacted a family lawyer. And without much fuss, my sister and her husband signed over their parental rights. Just like that. It was like they were giving away an old sofa they didn't want anymore. I got full custody of Luke before I was even old enough to legally drink. I moved in with my grandma, and we made it work. She helped with Luke while I enrolled in community college and picked up a retail job that barely paid minimum wage. My manager was always on me to pick up more shifts, but I had school, a baby, and zero help. It was a constant juggling act. Most nights I was so exhausted I'd fall asleep right at the kitchen table with my textbooks open, waking up with my face stuck to the pages. It was brutal. And then, when Luke turned 6, my grandmother passed away. Losing her nearly broke me. I had no idea how we were going to survive without her. She left me everything in her will, mostly sentimental things, but also the house. Suddenly, my parents and my sister were interested in being part of our lives again. Funny how that works. They didn't care about us. They just wanted a slice of whatever they thought she'd left behind. The house wasn't even much, just a tiny 2-bedroom in an older neighborhood. But it was ours. It gave us a roof over our heads, a sense of security. That fake family reunion didn't last long. I told them flat out, either act like decent human beings or don't bother showing up again. My dad, surprisingly, took that seriously. We slowly rebuilt a relationship, and these days he's actually involved. He helps out with the kids and calls to check in. My mom? We barely speak. But at least when she sees Luke, she's polite. That's about all I can ask for. Around this time, I met the man who would become my husband. We met at community college. He worked full-time and took classes at night. From day one, we just clicked. But I was cautious, especially when it came to Luke. I didn't want to introduce him to someone who might not stick around. It took a full year before I let them meet. I was a nervous wreck, barely able to eat that day. But thankfully, it went better than I ever could have hoped. They bonded immediately. My husband is amazing with kids. He treated Luke like he mattered right from the start, like he was part of the family. They'd sit and play video games for hours, and he never once acted like it was a chore. He read him bedtime stories, did silly voices, all the little things that stay with a kid forever. When Luke was 8, something wild happened. Both my sister and I got pregnant. I found out first. Then a few weeks later, my dad mentioned that my sister was expecting too. And suddenly, she wanted back into Luke's life. She started calling, acting like she missed him. At first, I thought maybe this pregnancy had changed her. Maybe she finally realized what she gave up. Maybe it would be good for Luke to have some kind of relationship with her. Big mistake. She didn't want a relationship, she wanted control. She started saying cruel, manipulative things to him. Stuff like, "They're going to have a real baby now, so they probably won't want you anymore. Or once their real son is born, you'll see how differently they treat him. We didn't know she was saying any of this until Luke broke down crying one night. He was absolutely shattered, begging us not to leave him, sobbing so hard he could barely speak. When we finally got him to open up, I was livid. Luke may not be my biological child, but he's my son. Always has been. We've never lied to him about where he came from, but we've also always made it clear that he was wanted, that he was chosen, that he is loved. After that, we cut off my sister and her husband again. We got Luke into therapy, both family sessions and one-on-one. His therapist said kids who experience rejection from their birth parents sometimes blame themselves. We wanted to make damn sure he never felt like any of this was his fault. When I gave birth to my second child, technically my first pregnancy, it was surreal. But from day one, we made sure Luke felt nothing had changed. Our love for him hadn't wavered, not even a little. The newborn stage was rough. I was healing from a C-section, breastfeeding around the clock, and trying to make sure Luke still felt seen and loved. My husband took some time off work to help out. My dad would swing by and take Luke to the park or to a movie, just for one-on-one time. And Luke was amazing with his baby brother, so gentle, so protective. It was beautiful to see. A few years later, my sister came sniffing around again. This time, she sent a long email saying she wanted to make amends. I didn't buy it. But she kept pushing. After some long talks with my husband and with Luke, we agreed to go low contact. And when I say low contact, I mean bare minimum. A few family gatherings here and there. Sometimes letting my niece, my sister's daughter, spend time with our kids. But never unsupervised. And I always checked in with Luke afterward to make sure he was okay. Over the years, my husband and I built a solid life. He finished his degree, landed a good job in his field. I got my nursing license. We moved into a better neighborhood with good schools and a little more space. Things are stable. Meanwhile, my sister and her husband bounce from crisis to crisis. Always between jobs. Her husband never sticks with anything, quits over the dumbest reasons. They've been evicted 4 times in the past decade. But my kids? They're thriving. Luke played baseball for years and loved it. We've built something real, something lasting. These days, Luke's really into debate club, and my younger son, let's call him Justin, is all about football and anything to do with computers. They both stay active, work hard, and get to enjoy the rewards. We give them nice gifts on birthdays and holidays, and every summer, we make time for one big family trip. Last year, we spent 2 weeks at a beach house right on the water. It was beautiful. My sister and her husband? They can't afford anything like that. Their daughter, my niece, Emily, doesn't really get to do much. No vacations, no extracurriculars. And honestly, I feel for her. It's not her fault her parents can't get it together. When Emily was around 9, my sister started dropping hints that I should start covering some of her expenses. At first, it was harmless stuff, school supplies, a new pair of sneakers. But it snowballed. Suddenly she wanted me to pay for dance lessons, summer camp, even a smartphone. I told her flat out, that's not my responsibility. I wasn't her ATM. I gave Emily thoughtful gifts on her birthday and at Christmas. Sometimes I'd take her out to the movies or shopping, but of course, it wasn't the same as how I treat my own boys. And it shouldn't be. One time, my sister called me in a panic because she forgot it was picture day at Emily's school and didn't have the money. I sent her $30 to cover the basic photo package. Later, I found out she spent that money on cigarettes. Emily didn't even get her pictures. After that, I stopped sending my sister money directly. If Emily needed something, I'd just buy it myself. For a few years, things stayed relatively peaceful. We'd run into them at family events, exchange small talk, and then go on our way. Occasionally, Emily would come hang out with my boys. They'd play video games or watch movies. It was fine. Mostly drama-free, with the usual eye rolls from my sister whenever she commented on our house, our car, or our clothes. Now Justin is about to turn 17, and my husband and I started talking about getting him a cheap used car, just like we did for Luke when he hit that age. Nothing flashy, just a reliable used Honda with solid safety ratings. Luke had pitched in some of his own savings from a part-time job, and he's been responsible for gas and part of the insurance. It was a great way to teach him accountability. Turns out, Emily is also turning 17 right around the same time. And of course, my sister decided to promise her a car too, without having any way to actually follow through. Then one afternoon, she calls me out of nowhere and says, "So, Emily's birthday is coming up and she's expecting a car like her cousin's got. I figured you could take care of that since you've got the money." I was floored. I told her no. I never said I was buying Emily a car, and I wasn't about to start now. She flew off the handle, ranting about how I've always acted superior, how I'm the favorite, and how it's unfair that her daughter has to suffer while mine live the high life. I lost my temper a bit and said maybe if she or her husband could hold down a job for longer than 6 months, they'd be able to afford a few things for their kid. Yeah, maybe it was harsh. But I was sick of the guilt-tripping and entitlement. She didn't speak to me for a while after that, which honestly felt like a break. I assumed she was moving on, maybe coming up with another plan, something reasonable like helping Emily find a part-time job or setting up a payment plan for a car. But of course not. That would have made too much sense. Then came Justin's birthday. We surprised him with the car. He was over the moon, laughing, hugging everyone, practically bouncing around the driveway. It was a genuinely happy moment. 2 days later, my phone rang. It was Emily. She was sobbing, practically screaming into the phone, demanding to know why I hated her and why I couldn't treat her the way I treat her brother, meaning Luke. She said she'd told all her friends she was getting a car and now she looked like a liar, and it was all my fault. I tried to stay calm. I explained, gently, that the situation is different. Luke is my son. Emily is my niece. As an aunt, I show up for birthdays and holidays and special moments, but that's the extent of it. I don't owe her a car, and I never promised one. Then I said something that came out sharper than I intended. Luke will always mean more to me than you ever will. As soon as I heard the words leave my mouth, I regretted how cold they sounded. But emotionally, it's true. I've raised Luke from infancy. I've wiped his tears, held his hand through surgeries, helped him study for tests, and sat through endless sleepless nights. He's my son in every way that matters. Emily? I see her a few times a year. She shouted that I was being unfair and hung up. Right after, my sister called, absolutely fuming. She accused me of playing favorites, said I was ruining Emily's life, and demanded I make it right. I told her this entire mess was because she made promises she couldn't keep with my money. I said if she wants her daughter to have something, maybe she should try parenting instead of outsourcing it. Now I've got extended family calling me, some of my sister's friends too. They're leaving voicemails, sending texts, calling me a selfish bleep, saying I should be ashamed of myself for not helping family in need. My aunt, my mom's sister, actually told me on the phone that I was heartless. I wanted so badly to ask her where she was when I was 18, trying to raise a baby that wasn't mine. But I didn't. I just hung up. And yeah, I feel bad. My kids have had more than Emily. That's not lost on me. Maybe I could have done a little more over the years. But a car? That's not a small favor. That's thousands of dollars. And Emily hasn't shown the same level of effort. My boys maintain solid grades, help out around the house, and work part-time. They've earned what they've gotten. Emily? As far as I know, she barely scrapes by in school and has never worked a day in her life. So yeah, maybe I'm the bleep for what I said, but I don't think I'm the villain here. Update 1. Wow. I wasn't expecting this to blow up the way it did. Thanks for the awards, but more importantly, thanks for the advice. I've read a ton of your responses, even the critical ones. Some of you made fair points about how I could have handled the conversation with Emily better. Just to clarify, because some people misunderstood, my sister has never been left alone with my kids. Not once. The low contact we've kept was mostly to benefit Emily. When birthdays or holidays rolled around, we'd coordinate in advance, decide when I'd pick her up, how long she'd stay, and when she'd go back. My sister never babysat my kids, never came to my house alone, and never spoke to them without me or my husband present. As for why I didn't go full no contact after the awful things she said to Luke when he was little, honestly, maybe I should've. But my dad was trying so hard to hold what was left of our family together, and I guess I felt guilty. Emily was just a baby back then. It wasn't her fault her mom was so toxic. And another reason we kept things civil? Emily and Justin go to the same school. They've both been in band, gone to the same football games, and had classes together. So my sister was at most of the same school events. It would have been painfully awkward to completely ignore her in front of other parents, so we did this weird, polite pretend we get along act in public. Before the car drama, Justin and Emily got along fine. They weren't best friends or anything, but they helped each other with schoolwork sometimes. Justin would even help her with math homework here and there. Emily always struggled with math, and Justin would help her out here and there when they had classes together. She and Luke had a decent relationship too, friendly, but not super close. There's a bigger age gap between them, so it never turned into a deep bond. Still, they got along. I always made sure my boys were comfortable with how involved my sister was in our lives, which honestly wasn't much at all. Just the occasional school event or a family gathering here and there. With Luke especially, I was extra careful. I checked in with him after every interaction with my sister to make sure he felt okay. He's got a soft heart but a long memory. He's never really trusted her, and I can't say I blame him. A couple of days after Emily called me in tears, I decided to meet with her face to face. I figured it would go better in neutral territory, so we picked a park near my house. It was one of those weirdly warm spring days where everything feels too pretty to be dealing with heavy family drama. When she showed up, she seemed calm, but worn down. She had dark circles under her eyes, like sleep had been escaping her for a while. I bought us ice cream from a little stand nearby, maybe not the most nutritious lunch, but we weren't really there for that. We sat down at a picnic table tucked away from the main path. I told her right away that I never meant to hurt her. But I needed her to understand that I'm not her mother. I'm her aunt. And it's not my job to buy her a car. I said it gently, but I didn't sugarcoat it either. She nodded and said she got it, but then added that she's jealous that Luke and Justin seem to have everything while she gets nothing. I had to correct a few things. First off, Luke's not her brother. I know biologically they're half-siblings, but in every meaningful sense, he's her cousin. That's how they were raised. Second, my boys don't get everything. They work hard for what they have. They keep their grades up, they help around the house, and they both held part-time jobs. They've earned a lot of the things she assumes were just handed to them. Okay, there was that one time Justin tried sneaking out to a party, but that's another story. I asked her what had changed. Why now? Why this sudden explosion over something she'd never made a big deal about before? For a while, she just sat there quietly, picking at the wrapper on her cone. And then, she started to cry. She told me it just isn't fair. That Luke and Justin have everything, stability, love, structure, while she feels like she's just barely scraping by. She said Luke got lucky being adopted by me and my husband. And then she said something that caught me off guard. I deserve what they have too. I'm family, aren't I? Doesn't that mean you should take care of me too? And in that moment, I really did feel for her. I truly did. It's not her fault her parents couldn't give her more. But I couldn't just take on that burden. Raising Luke wasn't some calculated decision, it was something I did out of desperation and love when no one else would. I was young and naive then, and I had no clue what I was getting into. But I stepped up. That's not something you can repeat just because someone else wants the same outcome. I told her that I love her, I do, but she's not my child. Her parents are still alive. It's their responsibility to guide her, to support her, to figure out how to help her get a car if that's what she needs. Maybe they can help her get a job, or look into a payment plan, or consider other transportation options. I wasn't saying she didn't deserve those things. I just wasn't the person to provide them. She looked down at the ground and stayed quiet for a long while. I asked her again, why now? Why did this car situation hit her so hard? Eventually, she opened up. She told me that, even though her parents meet her basic needs, food, clothes, shelter, she's always felt like a burden to them. Like she's just another chore on their list. And when she looks at us, me, my husband, the boys, she sees something different. She sees connection. Real love. A team. She said she always hated leaving our house. Even when I took her out to the movies or shopping, it never felt like enough, because Luke got to stay. And then she said something that broke my heart a little. Sometimes I wish you had taken me too. That hit hard. But what was I supposed to do? Steal her away as a baby? Her parents weren't abusive or completely neglectful, not like they were with Luke. They weren't great, sure. But they kept a roof over her head and food in the fridge. I told her I understood why she felt that way. That I really did care about her. But I wasn't going to treat her like a child I raised, because I didn't. I wasn't her mom, I was her aunt. And while that came with love and support, it didn't mean I could give her everything she'd been missing from her own parents. She got upset again. Told me I clearly didn't care. Then she stood up and walked away. I sat at that picnic table for a long time after she left. Just staring out into the sun, feeling like crap. When I got home, I talked everything through with my husband. 4 hours. We finally decided we were done. No more guilt trips. No more fake peace. I called my sister and told her we were officially going no contact. I explained that I'm not going to let her drag my family through more drama. We were cutting ties. She immediately asked how I was planning to keep in touch with Emily. I told her Emily is almost an adult, if she wants to talk, she knows how to reach me. Then, she had the nerve to ask me again if I was going to buy Emily the car. That was the last straw. I told her flatly no. She's the mother. It's her job to show up for her daughter. Not mine. Then I hung up and blocked her number. I thought that would be the end of it, at least for a while. But the next day, my mom called. She said if I wouldn't buy Emily a car, I should at least give her some money to help. I said no. Then hung up again, before things got ugly. Later that day, I called my dad and explained the whole situation. To my relief, he agreed with me completely. He said he'd try talking to my mom to get her to see reason, but apparently that conversation didn't go well. A few days later, he showed up at my house looking shaken. My mom had taken a big chunk of money out of their retirement account and given it to my sister. That set off a massive fight between them, and my dad ended up packing a bag and checking into a motel for a while just to clear his head. I felt awful. I'm in my 40s, and I'm still somehow at the center of family fallout. My dad kept telling me it wasn't my fault that mom made her own choice, but I still felt like I had stirred up all this chaos. I offered to let him stay with us for a bit, but he said he needed some time alone. So now, I'm officially no contact with both my sister and my mom. I've pulled back to low contact with Emily, for now. My husband thinks we should cut everyone off except my dad. But I'm not ready to walk away from Emily completely. She's still young, still figuring herself out. And she didn't ask to be born into this train wreck of a family. Thanks again to everyone who gave me advice, it really helped me stay grounded through all of this. Update 2. A lot has happened since the last update, and most of it hasn't been great. About a week later, I started feeling guilty about how things ended at the park. I thought maybe Emily and I could find a way to repair things. So I texted her and asked if she wanted to talk. To my surprise, she said yes. This time, we met at my house while everyone else was out. I wanted the space to be private, just the two of us. It was raining that day. Everything outside looked gray and heavy, and the weather just matched the mood. When Emily arrived, she wouldn't meet my eyes. She kept her gaze on the floor or glued to her phone. I asked if I could give her a hug. She nodded. The moment I wrapped my arms around her, she broke down crying. She apologized for how she acted. I told her she didn't need to apologize, that I understood why she felt hurt and disappointed. We sat in the living room with mugs of hot chocolate, and I gently asked Emily more about what life at home was really like. She told me her dad treats her well and tries to spend time with her when he can, but he's exhausted. He works 2 jobs and drives for Uber most evenings after his day shift. So, he's barely ever home. Her mom, my sister, is around more, but she mostly stays in her room and doesn't like to be bothered. Emily said it's not unusual to go an entire day without really speaking to either of them, even when everyone's home. I asked her if she felt neglected, and she paused before saying no, not exactly. But she admitted they don't spend much quality time together. Her parents argue a lot, mostly about money. And even though she knows they love her in their own way, she often feels like a burden, especially when her mom snaps or shuts her out emotionally. Then I asked her if she knew about the money my mom had pulled from the retirement account. She said yes, apparently she and my sister were planning to go car shopping soon. I was surprised my sister had told her the source of the money so casually. But I kept my mouth shut about that. It's not Emily's fault her mother doesn't think twice about draining her parents' future. We shifted the conversation, and I brought up how she kept referring to Luke as her brother. I asked if she genuinely saw him that way. She admitted no. She said she just thought calling him her brother might tug at my heartstrings a little more, make me more likely to help her. She explained that, yeah, biologically they're siblings, but in every way that actually matters, they've always just been cousins. And Luke feels the same way. To him, Justin's his only brother. Always has been. They've got that kind of bond where they fight like siblings but also protect each other like a team. It felt like Emily and I were finally starting to get somewhere. So I told her I was willing to pay for therapy if she wanted it. My husband and I talked about it later, and he agreed. I also suggested we could start doing something fun together once a week. Just the two of us, no Justin, no Luke. She perked up at the idea. That weekend, we had our first girls' day. We went to the hibachi-style restaurant she'd been dying to try, one of those fancy places where the chefs cook everything right in front of you. It wasn't cheap, but seeing her smile made it worth every penny. After lunch, we hit a bookstore, her happy place. I let her pick out a few books she'd been wanting for a while. That day, she seemed genuinely happy. I really thought maybe we'd turned a corner. But the following weekend, everything blew up. Emily and I had plans for our second Saturday out. But then Friday afternoon, Justin collapsed during football practice. He has asthma, has since he was little, and usually he manages it just fine. But that day, he pushed himself too hard. He took his inhaler but didn't rest long enough before going back out, and when he got tackled, it knocked the wind right out of him and triggered a serious attack. He was rushed to the ER and admitted for observation. His oxygen levels dropped dangerously low. At one point, the doctors were talking about putting him on a ventilator. Thankfully, it didn't come to that. But it was terrifying. He stayed in the hospital until Sunday. I barely left his side. Saturday morning, I called Emily to explain we'd have to reschedule. But before I could even tell her what was going on, she picked up and immediately started yelling. She accused me of not caring about her and then hung up. I was stunned. But I didn't have time to process it, I was focused on my son. I tried calling her back, but it went to voicemail. So I texted her a short message, telling her what had happened and that we could reschedule for the following weekend. She never responded. After a couple of days, I stopped trying. Justin needed me, and I didn't have the emotional bandwidth to chase down someone who didn't want to talk. Then came the moment everything changed. 2 nights ago, our family finally went out for dinner, our first evening out since Justin got home. Halfway through the meal, we got a call from our neighbor saying someone was outside vandalizing one of our cars. They'd already called the police. We rushed home. When we pulled into the driveway, the cops were already there. It was Justin's car. There were deep scratches down both sides, dents where something hard had been slammed into it, and spray paint all over. One side said F*******, and the other said spoiled brat. 2 of the windows were smashed. There was glass everywhere. Justin just stood there staring at it, speechless. He'd worked hard to help pay for that car. That thing meant freedom and independence to him, and now it was trashed. We checked the security cameras, the ones my husband insisted we install last year, and there it was. Clear as day. Emily, and another girl I didn't recognize, destroying the car while laughing and filming themselves. The footage showed they spent nearly 20 minutes wrecking it before a neighbor noticed and called it in. We gave the video to the police. And the next morning, both girls were arrested. I didn't press charges. The police did, based on the evidence. The damage was estimated at over $5,000, enough to qualify as a felony in our state. Later that day, my mom and sister came storming over, yelling that I was ruining Emily's life. They screamed that if I truly loved her, I'd drop the charges. I tried to explain, this isn't up to me anymore. It's out of my hands. The police have the evidence, and they're the ones pressing charges. Besides, what kind of message would it send to just let Emily walk away from something like this? She vandalized someone else's property. That's not just a family issue. That's a crime. My husband was firm, absolutely no dropping the charges. And both Justin and Luke were right there with him. Justin especially. That car was something he earned. Insurance might cover part of the cost, but not all of it. And our rates are definitely going up. Not to mention the emotional toll. Justin doesn't feel safe knowing his own cousin did this to him. That kind of betrayal doesn't go away overnight. I had a long talk with Luke, too. He stayed quiet through most of this drama, but I needed to hear where his head was, especially since Emily is, technically, his half-sister. He told me he's done. That Emily's just like her mom. That he's known for a long time there's something broken in my sister, and now he sees the same pattern in Emily. So we've made the decision to go completely no contact with everyone except my dad. He's been the one steady, supportive voice through all of this. He agrees Emily needs to face the consequences. My mom, on the other hand, is still defending Emily and my sister. She actually told me this whole thing was our fault for not buying Emily the car in the first place. It feels like I'm back at square one with my family. And honestly, I'm exhausted. I don't know what's going to happen with the charges. Emily's 17, so she'll probably be charged as a minor, but it's still serious. My sister is now threatening to sue us for defamation or some other nonsense, even though the entire thing is on video. At this point, all I want is peace. But I'm starting to realize that sometimes, peace only comes when you finally close the door and leave it shut.